thing you're doing with the equipment in the back. You can attach accessories to that. And this is the clutch. So it won't go unless you push on the clutch to start it.
Yep.
And this is the transmission control, like the brindle lever on a car. And it goes either in high position or low position. Low is really slow. What low is for is if, let's say you had a rototiller in the back and you're churning up the ground and you want it to just travel forward really slowly and not take much of the power from movement, put all the power in the tool, then you use the low position. But so just leave it in the high position. Sometimes you accidentally bump it and it gets in neutral, so if it doesn't seem to be going, check that. And this is for running a mower or a rotary tool in the back, a rototiller, and it's got a position here where it's stationary in this middle position.
Yeah.
And then a forward and you know I don't even remember why it's got two things here. Oh, this is for some other thing that I guess we don't have. So this lever here, so that makes it rotate. That doesn't. If this is out of place, it won't start either, because it won't let you start it while the tool is engaged. So we never use that because we don't have any rotary thing. No. You know, hay mower or anything like that.
Yeah.
So on this side, this is to switch it from being four-wheel drive to two-wheel drive.
Okay.
You see right here, it shows that the front and the rear are uncoupled, and here they're coupled. So four-wheel drive is the best unless you're driving on a real paved road. Then you're supposed to go to two-wheel drive.
Okay.
So around the property here, four-wheel drive. So
Yeah.
you get the best traction. And this is to raise and lower an accessory that you mount in the back. So the only accessory that I bought is this grader. And we've used it a few times to level out ground, like when we were building the shed.
Right.
Or to level out the bad potholes in the road.
Okay.
I've done it a few times. That's a whole new story, so if we ever get to that, we'll talk about it. But for manure, you can ignore that. This is a dipstick to check how much transmission fluid there is, and this locks the rear tool so it doesn't droop down of its own gravity. So you don't need that. The seat tilts forward, and there's a little toolbox compartment, which I don't know. I don't think I even have anything in there. This is a forward-backward control of the seat, so if you have trouble reaching the pedals, you can move it. Really important to have the seatbelt on. Always have the seatbelt on before you get it going. And this protects you in case you roll over. This is a rollover roll bar, and it's really strong, so it'll keep you safe if you got your seatbelt on and you're in this roll under the roll bar. If you accidentally roll, but be careful of the clearance here. Sometimes you might be driving around and there's a tree branch that you're not noticing and you back up a little bit and you hit the tree branch. And I did that once. And I cracked the corner here. Didn't really ruin it, but be careful. So be aware of what's overhead when you're driving around.
Gotcha.
And what's behind you. Well, this thing's falling off. That's another thing you should check is if anything's falling loose. You lost a bolt.
Yeah, we can replace that.
I mean, maybe you can find a bolt and.
There's tons. I'll go once we're done here. I'll just go grab a bolt.
Yeah, and it'll need a big head or a washer on this side because the hole's gotten enlarged.
Oh, okay.
And then I have some stuff called thread lock.
Yeah, I know. I
It's this blue stuff. I don't know if you have any here, but I have it.
It's the stuff that you have us paint on the irrigation valves. I think it's the same stuff. It's like kind of a silicone kind of stuff, and it secures it, fills in any cracks.
Yeah, that's different.
Okay.
That's pipe dream compound.
Okay.
That's a water sealer. This stuff, thread lock, you shake it up, and it's a little tiny blue bottle. and you put a drop on the threads before you screw them into the nut. And when air reacts with it, it hardens into plastic.
Okay.
And it's not so hard that you can't unscrew it, but vibration won't jiggle it loose.
Okay.
So when you find that thing, you ought to check with me. I'll give you some thread lock.
Okay.
And then you could also unscrew this and put thread lock on the nut and put it back.
Got it.
Can you leave the thread lock somewhere so that if you're not around, they can proceed?
Where would you like it?
The tack room.
Yeah, you could even just leave it right here in the vet stall on the table next to the.
Okay, but it should have a permanent storage place. No, that's not a good permanent place for it.
Okay, I can't. Well, we can keep it on.
How about on the shelf, the white shelves that you've organized? Is there a place there?
My garage isn't organized yet. Can we make that decision where to keep it and then
Well, maybe
use email to confirm?
Yeah, why don't we focus on that?
Bad.
What happened?
There's a nail. Keep your eye out for nails. Fell out of something. This is a sheetrock nail. So that would do damage to some wheels. Let me throw it away.
After we're done with this, girls, I want to go walk through with you rainy day turnout here.
I
No, no,
gotta
okay.
get going.
Maybe,
Well, anyway, find a secure place for that thread lock because it's a small bottle. It's easy to get lost. And you might use it for all sorts of things
Okay, well,
that are subject to vibration.
yeah, we'll find a good place for it and I'll let you know. But for now, I'll just give it back to you so that way.
Yeah. Well, I have an extra bottle. I bought a new one. The old one is almost empty, so I'll squirt some of the new stuff in the old bottle and you can keep the old bottle.
Okay.
Okay, and it dries out so you make sure it's always capped well.
Got it.
Let's see. Oh yeah, this control, this raises the arm, the bucket arm, and this lowers it.
Right.
And this, it's just like your arm. The front bucket, when you are doing that, it's just like your arm. So your arm goes this way, it does that to the bucket.
Right.
And if you want to go that way, push it up. And so you'll get pretty good. It takes a little time to get coordinated with it. You'll be able to, you know, get it level to the ground. This bracket here is the level indicator. When it's level, you can see it from up there that it's kind of level to the ground. Then the bottom of the bucket is level to the ground, so you'll know how you're approaching the pile of stuff. So you kind of get it level or even tilt it down slightly in the front so that it lightly scrapes the cement, and that way it'll get under the pile of manure. And then when you get far enough, you curl it back and raise it slightly as you just kind of scoop into the pile.
Yeah.
And then when you get up, you tip it up enough to hold it. And if you're going to travel on the ground, it's good not to overfill it because it'll spill out when you bounce around. So when you're over the pile, you can kind of go boom, like that, and knocks off any excess. And let's see, this is for lights. If you happen to be out here and it's getting dark, you can turn on lights. There's the light switch on, it's off. And this is a turn signal, which you probably never use, but if you're out on the road, it's good.
Okay.
And so this is obviously ground speed. This is, no, this is not ground speed. This is engine revolutions per minute. So, you know, I don't know,
Yeah.
sometimes they say,
RPM.
they give you a specification, you know, when rototilling you run at a certain speed, but we never
okay.
pay attention to that. But this is kind of important. This is the number of hours that the engine's been running.
Okay.
And you're supposed to service it after every so many hours, 50 hours for this, 100 hours for that.
Right.
So I think it's due for an oil change. And that's another story for another day.
Okay.
no, that should be, if it's due for something, it has to be done. So how can you make sure it gets
another
done?
appointment for an oil change lesson, and we'll do the oil change, but I'm not going to do it right now. I'm not dressed for it, and I don't want to do it right now. It's an oil change and lubrication. with grease.
Do you want both girls here when you do that?
Well, who's gonna do the service?
Have no
We still
idea.
have- we still have a little-
I have that manual over there to check, and I don't remember when it was last done, so I have to research it, but I think it's due.
For now, why don't we just focus on learning how to
Because it'll get forgotten very
Because
easily.
one thing at a time, and one thing right now is operation.
Who will make the appointment for the next scheduled meeting?
We'll deal with that by email. Right now, you're distracting us from what our objective is, which is to learn how to use it.
Thank goodness I'm videoing it.
Please try not to interrupt us. Okay, so this is the engine temperature and fuel level. So let's see. I think we covered pretty much everything. Oh, one thing about the bucket, always make sure people have their hands clear of the bucket, because these levers come real close together, and sometimes as you're manipulating it, people could get their hand crushed. So never have anybody's hands around there. Never let anybody ride in the bucket. Be careful when you're lowering it that there's no animal under there, especially overnight. Sometimes a cat might have been trapped in here, and they might sleep near the engine, kind of look around, because engines are warm and you sometimes do that. You just look around, make sure everything's normal, not anything like this thing.
Right, we'll deal with that afterwards.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to start it up.
Okay, we'll move this side.
Before the noise of startup, I'm going to ask Aniel and Sam together, and it's on video, to contact Stan and CC me for the oil change appointment.
Okay.
And I'll video it, or you guys will if I'm not available. Okay.
Okay, so clutch, well, first step, what's the first step? Yes.
You have to.
After you check the oil and everything?
Yeah,
After all
I'm
of
sitting here and I'm ready to go. What's my first
You
important step?
do the thing where you turn it till and you watch the flowing thing.
That's the second step.
Clutch.
the second step.
This is the first step.
Oh, seatbelt.
It's very important. Second step, you push the clutch in all the way. You turn the key. Now since it's going to get noisy, it's going to be a little hard to talk. I forgot to say about this lever here. The parking brake there isn't a separate parking brake. It just locks the brake pedal.
Okay.
So when you push down on the brake pedal, if you push down on this thing and hold it down while you take your foot off the brake pedal, it stays down and that locks the brake pedal down. That's your parking brake.
Okay.
And to release it, you just push a little bit on that.
Got it.
So it's going to get noisy. I'm going to do
Okay,
that.
wait, before it gets noisy,
What?
it's essential that when you start moving the manure, that you don't have manure to wood contact, and please don't make a ramp for any animal to walk up to the south side of the manure bin and somehow, fit through everything we've put up there to keep an animal from getting in the chicken yard.
It's not going to be possible to avoid a ramp. You're going to have a big pile of manure,
Well,
and an animal can walk up that and jump from the top of the pile to the fence.
okay, can I tell you that when Shalea went to San Diego, she moved the manure just before she left and made a ramp up to the south side.
Always going to be a
And can I tell you that Everett, so maybe you guys can get in touch with Everett. Everett fired this up and moved the manure away from the south wall.
Yeah.
Okay?
Just kind of putting the bulk of the pile. I mean, there's always going to be a little bit there, but if you just put the bulk of the pile
In the middle, away from earth or manure to wood contact. Even though it's pressure treated wood, it will get destroyed by constant contact.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so seatbelt, clutch in, key on, warm up position, count to 3.
emergency or the parking brake?
You don't really need to. If you're gonna, just stop it here and get off. It's level ground. You're not gonna really roll
Yeah,
away.
just
But
have
if you stop it on the slope, it'll roll.
Okay.
Okay, so why don't you each take a turn doing that much, and you can go forward with the forward pedal and back with the back of the pedal. Run engine speed a little faster. Try it again. Get a feel for that,
Gotcha.
and then we'll go over to the manure.
Does anybody know why the front gate is locked open?
That was our doing.
Okay, it's not broken. You will undo it. Okay.
Just that way Stan could come in easy enough and stuff like that. Sure. Safety first, guys.
That's it.
Okay. Let's see, I have to take the parking brake off. So that releases it, right? And then I put the clutch in.
Uh-huh.
And then it goes 1, 2, 3.
After it's been warmed up a little bit, it warms up really fast. You don't even have to do that warm up.
Okay. Can I just release the clutch?
Yeah. Okay, come on back. Back up.
She doesn't hear you.
Like that. Oh.
This is the pile we have to move into the center, turn, maybe put into the middle or east bin. I'm not sure what the plan is. Can you video for a minute? I'm going to get a chair. Okay, you can hand me. That's how bad my legs are. I can't stand that long.
Brake on before you turn it off.
Right, I just figured.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. How many carrots in your backpack?
One thing I should mention about the bucket, let's say you're lifting a lot of heavy stuff, a big load of wet manure, you might find that you have to run the engine a little faster. And the lift mechanism is really powerful and fast. And if you lower it really fast, it makes, even though you didn't hit anything, it makes it bounce. And if you're driving along, it bounces a lot too. So you have to be careful that the tire pressure isn't too low, because then it can't handle the weight.
Gotcha.
And if you're traveling too fast and you got a heavy load, and you're running along bumpy ground, you'll kind of oscillate. So you might have to watch your speed and lower the thing so you're not bouncing out of control.
Got it.
Did you put the clutch in to turn off or no?
You don't need to.
No, you don't need to.
Just when you start it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
the bucket can be lowered just on its own weight. And you can't raise it.
Lower the bucket after you turn the engine off.
I always like to lower it to the ground until it just gently touches the ground.
Until it gently touches the ground.
Because I think it's not too good for the seals to leave them up and have them supported weight.
Okay.
Plus, it's unlikely, but you know, they say, well, you know, it's safer if it's touching the ground because it's not going to go any lower. If a cat should happen to curl up underneath the bucket and this thing slowly went down, it could trap the cat, especially. So I always lower it.
Grizzly.
Okay, so let's open up a manure like this one, first one, because it needs to be turned over anyway. Oh, one other thing that I just thought of. When you're using the forward-backward pedals, I always try to keep the other part of your foot in contact with the floor. If you're just up in the air,
Keep your foot in contact with the floor.
You know, you might accidentally push down on it, and the engine, the tractor, you know, will jerk and make you push even more.
To avoid accidentally pushing down and jerking the tractor and engine.
It's especially important when you're in tight spaces like this. That way you're a little bit more in control. Okay, so how about one of you drive over here and just aim straight in. And then stop just before you get to the pile. And then I'll demonstrate the technique and then you can each try it. So try starting it without, it's warmed up now, so there's no need for a delay.
What, should I release the parking brake first?
I always like to start it first, because then the engine is working to maintain the position.
Started first. Okay, so when you're going to work in the manure piles here, you know, you want to go straight in. So it would have been good to make a wider turn.
Right, it's the one
Or back up and maneuver. So I'm going to straighten it out a little bit. Just
Okay.
don't stand behind me. And
Okay, straighten it out so you go straight into the manure pile.
I'm going to show you, I'm going to go approach the concrete and try to get the front edge of the bucket touching the concrete lightly as I go in. But you know, the concrete dips down and up again, so it's a little hard to be perfect. And then slide in under the pile, scoop it up, and drop it a little farther back. That's what I'm going to do. I wonder what happens without the seatbelt if you try to start it. That's all there is to it. But you see, there were a lot of little maneuvers there.
Yeah.
You have to go in and then kind of scoop as you raise up and travel forward a little bit to dig
Right.
in, have a bigger bite. Otherwise, you know, if you don't do them all, you'll end up with just a little bit of stuff in the bucket.
Got it.
And then you tip it back to hold it in there. And if I was going to travel, I would have raised it up and gone like that before I backed out, and then lower. And then, yeah, after a while, it's just like anything. It's just, you don't think about it. It just works. But before then, you're going to be, especially, what happened to me in the beginning was I always did the control the wrong direction. You know, and I lowered it when I meant to go up.
Yeah, I think that's probably what
And just take it slow and stay away from the fences till you're good at maneuvering. You know, if you're over to the side, especially if you're backing up, be careful, you know, because that front fence sticks out pretty far. So if you're backing up, make sure you're clear of the fence, because as you go forward, it could whack into the fence, which somebody did over there, broke it. We repaired it, but it was we had to replace some of the boards and reattach things.
Can I recommend, wouldn't it make sense to move this composted manure to that east bin and then bring this non-composted manure while you're turning it into the middle bin?
Well, that's the strategy of the 3 bins is that, you know, the stuff travels from bin to bin as it gets more age. But the new stuff that is more recently loaded needs to be buried under the old stuff that's farther back in the pile. So the strategy is you clear out one bin.
Let me open up maybe we could do a little of this.
You put, well, right now, just the purpose is to get familiar with the controls, and this is good enough for that. But then you'd want to maneuver, you know, empty out one bin. Like the oldest stuff could be piled on top of the middle-aged stuff, and then the middle-aged stuff would have time to and moisture to finish curing, and then the new stuff, which is in the front, would be loaded in the back of the bin, and the older stuff would go on top of it. And so that's how you turn the pile over. You want to turn it upside down.
Right.
Because it needs to be moist for the bacteria to work. And I don't know if you've seen it, but the bacteria really are working in there. If it's got enough moisture, on cold mornings you'll see steam rising.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen
And
that.
that's their biological heat coming off, you know, because basically biological systems are a slow-burning fire. They take the fuel and the oxygen and they burn it and produce carbon dioxide and water and energy. And so you do get a lot of heat.
Can I recommend that the likely person to be in charge of this would be Derek or whoever's taking that position who does the manure? Now, it's not a waste to have Samantha and Anya learn this, but it would seem to me, but I just couldn't schedule it today because he's coming at 12:30.
Your finger's in front of the lamp.
It would seem to me that he's the one that should do this on a regular basis under somebody's guidance.
Well, for now, just to make a suggestion, since we're learning it for now, and you know, it's not, Derek hasn't been hired yet, or it's not for sure who's going to be taking that position for now, and Yael and I could work on it when we have time, and
It's
when
good that
someone
everybody
else,
knows everybody's job.
yeah,
So,
and when someone else comes here, then we could maybe give them a little bit of training, and then they can get authorized through Stan. The way
Yeah.
it was going to be before with Scott and I, but then I didn't follow
Right.
through. 'cause I was
yeah,
lazy.
and that way you can cover for each other. If Derek's away and you're around, and they know how to maneuver the tractor.
The
So it's
key
not a waste.
phrase was, when you guys have time. You guys don't ever seem to have time. So I don't know how we're going to make time for that. Maybe next quarter you'll have more time, but there are other things need to be done by you that Derek won't be doing. So
Right.
I'd like to make it his responsibility, and then you be his backup on that.
Right. I'm just saying that, you know, since it's going to take some time for him to even get hired and to.
Well, he's maybe hired today. The question is, can he commit to 7 days a week? Because I have somebody else that's very, very interested. I told him to get in touch with me Monday. I might suggest that we hire 2 people half-time so they can cover for each other. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm taking it one step at a time. He's supposed to be here, and you will be available to do the paperwork with him.
I made an appointment. I think it's 1 o'clock today, isn't it?
Well, you keep your own calendar, so just please make sure you're around. And but my clear question to Derek will you be here over Christmas break? At least part of the time, especially Christmas Eve day and Christmas. I absolutely need to have somebody here, because if I'm on this earth, will not be able to even come out here. Okay, it'll only be a week since my surgery. So I'm going to ask him that question, and we'll see what his answer is.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so what's next? You want to try it?
Yeah, and Yal and I will just try this for a little bit, and I think we'll be able to wrap it up.
Okay, and do you want Stan to be around?
Well, yeah, I'm
Sure,
going to watch
yeah,
them
he's gonna-
each do a little
You
bit
want to try
of
this?
it, and
Okay.
then they can practice on their own later.
You have to be really careful with the lift, because it can lift the whole front end of the tractor and get the wheels off the ground. That's what he just warned them. When you're in there, go back and forth and then lift. When you're in there.
Well, drive forward so the wheels get raised up to the top. Drive forward so the wheels hit the pile and look up.
Front wheels are in the manure.
And then raise it up. With it still down, raise the arm a little higher so you can it down.
Raise the arm a little higher. And then tilt it.
Back out before you lower it, otherwise you'll pull it off.
Back out before you lower it.
I'll do it now.
Okay, now Anielle's gonna try it. Were you hesitant, Samantha? Yeah.
Well, yeah.
No, I'm just trying to get emotions surfaced here. It's okay.
you know, what do we do now? And
Yeah.
you just gotta.
I think
But
it's just gonna take some practice.
after you do it for a while, it'll be like riding a bike.
Yeah. Well, you know, like at first, like I remember it took her a lot longer. Now she kind of
Yeah. After a while, you just
yeah. I can see that there's a lot of parts that go into
Aim too much toward the curb. So I think he's asking her to straighten out, back up and straighten out. The front wheels are going in. Perfect, says Stan. Lower the bucket while you're traveling.
Back up a little bit. All back again.
Okay, so she's backing up, driving it to the driveway, and Stan's gonna back it in. But there's a lot of work to be done here. When are we gonna do it?
well, yeah, unfortunately we're doing, things have been a little messed up with that Sharia here, so it's gonna take some time.
The other day, there was a bunch of green hay in the front, right by the,
I know it's a problem with Eve, especially.
Yeah, so I did have Anielle push it back by hand, or rake it away just
Right.
so that she doesn't reach in.
Yeah, no, I know.
Because it was going to rain that night, and the next day it would have been all wet.
I know. I mean, the nice thing for the most part is that they end up, we don't have as much access, every day to this area, but
Yeah.
I know that we have to watch out for that.
Yeah.